Heather, can you take a picture of us, please? Go over there. Take a photo with your camera, please. Trigby.
Yes.
Thank you. Badgers for Harris. They did a good job. Looks nice.
Yeah.
Here you see the guy putting the seal on the podium.
And good evening, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh from Civic Media here, coming to you live from the District Pub and Grill in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, a pivotal area in this race for president coming up in now 5 days, 5 hours, and 8 minutes and 25 seconds, according to the Harris campaign clock, which is on their live stream right now. We are interrupting this special programming to bring you Vice President Harris's speech in the Dane County Coliseum down south of us, of course, in the capital city of Madison, awaiting live coverage here. Exciting day. We have been on the road with our show across Wisconsin on this What Makes Wisconsin Great tour. Of course, the 3rd District, pivotal here in Eau Claire especially. Joining me on the road, the founder of the Lincoln Project and the president of the Union, Reed Galen, and the senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, Trigby Olson, native of Wisconsin like myself. All three of us guys are former Republicans. Kind of weird in some ways that here we are about to watch a Democratic candidate for president. But Reed, what does this mean to Wisconsin in this campaign?
Well, look, I think that as we're just watching the video here, look, they did a great job. As an old advanced man, right. Todd, right? They did a great job on the look. I think they have done a very good job, and I think this is one of those things where the images matter at this point. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of American flags, a lot of bunting, a lot of Americana. I think they are very much trying to get the vice president to be seen as someone who is first and foremost an American, second a Democrat, to reclaim a lot of that territory that, frankly, the Republican Party has ceded with so much of the anger and, making America, quote, great again. Our
own Catherine Lake, general manager of our Madison station there on the ground, she's been to a lot of these, saying it's the most boisterous, the loudest rally that she's been to so far. I'm the only person, for those watching on the stream, that did not get the memo. Trigby and Reed in their Badger gear. And Reed, you pointed out, lots of red and white in the Coliseum, saying Badgers for Harris. Trigby, as a Wisconsin guy, you know how important this is to connect with the Badger State.
Yeah, my understanding is Dane County Coliseum hasn't been rocking like this since guys were throwing pucks past North Dakota Fighting Sioux goalies. So
it's a great day for hockey, as Bob Johnson said.
It is, Bob Johnson would say. I bet Bob Johnson would be voting for Kamala Harris, too. Kamala Harris, there's no doubt.
It looks like, again, we probably 2 hours ago, we got a notice that the Dane County Coliseum was at capacity. Last I checked, we're around 11,500 with standing room only. So, I mean, you're not going to get another person in here. Vice President Harris continues to make these big crowds, guys. And as we got the Marquette Law School poll numbers out today, it is now within the margin of error for all intent and purposes, a tied race. Vice President Harris has a point or two up on likely voters. But it just goes to show, and you guys both worked in Republican presidential campaigns for Bush, for McCain, and others. Momentum, enthusiasm, Reed, plays a big part in turnout.
No, I think so. I mean, look, the Harris campaign took off like a shot right after, she took over for President Biden. And I think now, you can see that they're coming on. Remember, we were on campus, Trigby and I were on campus on Monday. A big crowd of volunteers at the Wisconsin Democratic table. A lot of folks asking how we could get involved, how we could get tickets to the event that's going on right now. And so, I think that, look, as somebody said earlier today, Todd, right, like, Democrats rarely feel good about anything, and so if they feel good about something, like that's usually a good sign.
All right. Trigby, again, enthusiasm here. You talk a lot about these Dobbs dads. Just remind us quickly what that is and the importance of those former, what we would call Evers-Johnson voters are going to play in this race.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 60,000 Evers-Johnson voters in the state of Wisconsin. Most of them tend to be conservative. The Dobbs decision was a step too far. They tend to have daughters, and, I think they're showing up. I would guess with it being in Madison, there's a lot of those daughters who are there who are going to be talking to their dads after this. The other thing I'd point out is you know, in the Marquette poll, they ask an enthusiasm question, and we had Craig Gilbert on the show today. Democrats are leading in enthusiasm, and that was not the case, you know, when Joe Biden was the nominee and even at the outset. So you're seeing that enthusiasm. That matters a lot in a really close race.
Yeah, and just to expand on what Trigby said, the one other thing that Craig said was that it was that the enthusiasm gap between Republicans and Democrats was -20 when President Biden was still on the ticket. It's now +5, +10 Democrat. And again, in a very close race, I think all of these surveys, both Marquette and the other ones we talked about earlier today, I think are underestimating the effect of women in the vote. I think that they are underestimating the gender
Well, and
gap.
the CNN poll kind of got to that, right? Because in the CNN poll, you have a much bigger gender gap. I would think that is probably real here in the state of Wisconsin.
You guys read my mind because, again, we're here awaiting on a special report here on Civic Media. Vice President Kamala Harris getting ready to give remarks at the Dane County Coliseum in Madison. Reed, Galen, Trevey Olson along with me here. We're live in Eau Claire at the District Pub as we tour around the state. Guys, you are both daughters, or you both have daughters, and talk about, you know, I'm a 17-year-old niece who went to her first political rally here in Eau Claire earlier this year. It was the first time that Harris and Walz appeared together after being the nominee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was her first political event, and on the way home, it kind of hit her, my 17-year-old niece, and she said to my sister, she goes, "Wow, that was so cool." And she can't vote yet, but she wanted to go down there tonight. As dads of daughters, talk about what this means having Kamala Harris, a woman, come here tonight.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, Trigby is really, I think he deserves all the credit for the architecture and the theory behind the idea of the Dobbs dad, that guys like us, we both have two daughters at home, both have two teenage daughters at home. The idea that the role of a dad in our mind, first and foremost and forever, is that of protector. And I think there's also a value proposition, right, which is, yes, there's abortion, but it's also really, you know, from a conservative perspective, Todd, is who do you want being able to tell you and your family what you can and can't do within your family and in your home?
Trigby, quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the rally. I will tell you, years ago when President Bush was running in 2004, Reed did the event up the western Wisconsin, and it ended in Minnesota at the Target Center, and that place was rocking. And this looks like it's rocking in that exact same way.
Yeah, I believe it's a student. I'm not sure. I'll wait for my notes here from our great producer, Aaron Zommers. I believe this is the person who's going to intro the vice president tonight. A young man. In the earlier notes, this may be his first presidential election. Don't quote me on that. If you have better notes, Zommers, or anybody else back at the home studio, let us know. But he is obviously pumped and excited. Let's take just a little bit of this. This is this intro. Let's go live now to Dane County Coliseum in Madison, Wisconsin, as we await Vice President Kamala Harris here, her live remarks.
And I'm here today because our future is at stake. In less than a week, every single person in this room will help chart a new way forward by electing Kamala Harris. And yeah, I just grew up in Tomah, Wisconsin. It's a rural community. Yeah. It's a rural community where folks don't necessarily always agree on things as when it comes to politics. But what we do agree on is that we need a leader in the White House who will fight for us and who will share our values. And Donald Trump does not care about students like me and students like many of you. He is responsible for making it so that our sisters, friends, and neighbors have fewer rights than our parents did. He doesn't care if we're saddled with student debt when we graduate, and he will continue to shell out big tax breaks for big oil executives as they pollute our planet while reaping massive benefits. The good news is that we have the power to choose a different future. We've got a candidate who has a plan to take on student debt, to protect kids from gun violence, and to ensure that everybody has the freedom to make their own healthcare decisions. And you guys all know this, but that candidate is Kamala Harris. And as I'm sure many of you know, early voting is already underway here in Wisconsin. And it's super, super easy to join your friends and go out and cast your ballot. I have already gone to Memorial Union and voted early for Vice President Kamala Harris.
Just a quick reminder, you are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is now just past 8 o'clock. Our legal ID here for stations along the way across the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to special live coverage of remarks by Vice President Kamala Harris at the Dane County Coliseum. Many thanks to Catherine Lake and also Aaron Zomers back at the home station. You're hearing UW-Madison student Ty Schanhofer, who, according to our notes, this will be his first presidential election to vote in. So certainly very exciting for this young man. We're monitoring things here at the district in downtown Eau Claire. Now back to the Dane County Coliseum for this intro by Ty Schanhofer.
So, without further ado, it is my honor to introduce the woman who will stop Donald Trump in his tracks. Our next president of the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Paint a picture, the Vice President now on stage, Beyonce's Freedom blaring, the Vice President in a natty black pantsuit, stepping out to a standing room only crowd, 11,000 plus light. It is a spectacle. We've had Mumford & Sons. It is a rock concert. People are on their feet. All kinds of red and white vote Badger signs for Harris-Walz all over Dane County Coliseum. These folks are pumped. Reed Galen, Mr. Trigby Olson, myself here at Eau Claire. We're going to watch this, bring you the post game. But right now, here is the Vice President of the United States live from Madison, Wisconsin, Kamala Harris.
Let's hear it for Todd. All right, Madison, are we ready to do this? Are we ready to vote? Are we ready to win? Oh, it's good to be back in Madison. It's good to be back. And many of you may know, when I was 5 years old, my parents taught at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And so for a time, my sister Maya and I lived not far from here in a house on Lake Mendota. So it's good to be back, and it is good to be with so many incredible leaders. And I first of all want to thank everybody who is here right now for taking the time you have taken to be here. I also want to thank our Governor of Wisconsin, Governor Evers. Thank you always. Every time I land, he says, "Welcome home." Senator Baldwin, for working families, Representative Pocan, Mayor Rhodes Conway, Mandela Barnes, and can we hear it for our amazing musicians, Gracie Abrams, Remy Wolf, the National, and Sons. All right, so Madison, early voting has started. Here in Madison, you can vote early now through Sunday, November 3rd. And we need you to vote early, Wisconsin, because we have 6 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and we have work to do. But we like hard work. Hard work is good work. joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win. Yes, we will. We will win. We will win. And I will tell you, we will win. We will win because when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. And we know we have an opportunity hey, you know what? Listen, we all want the war in Gaza to end and get the hostages out as soon as possible, and I will do everything in my power to make it heard and known, and everyone has a right to be heard, but right now I am speaking. We have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is, but Madison, that is not who we are. And folks are exhausted and want it to stop the pointing fingers. It is time that we start locking arms together as a people who rise and fall together. And it is time for a new generation of leadership in America. That leadership as the next President of the United States. And Wisconsin, you know me. I'm not afraid of tough fights. For decades as a prosecutor and a top law enforcement officer of our biggest state, I won fights. I won fights. Against the big banks that ripped off homeowners, against for-profit colleges that scammed veterans and students, against predators who abused women and children, against cartels that trafficked in guns and drugs and human beings. And Wisconsin, if you give me the chance to fight on your behalf as president, there is nothing in the world that will stand in my way of fighting for you. And here's the thing. We know who Donald Trump is. This is not someone who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. And in less than 90 days, it's either going to be him or me in the Oval Office. Here's what you know, and here's what we know. If he is elected, it's not going to happen, but if he were elected, on day one, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. You know, he talks about the enemies from within. When I am elected, I will walk in with a to-do list focused on your needs. And at the top of my list is bringing down your cost of living. That my focus every single day as president. I will give a middle-class tax cut to over 100 million Americans. We will enact the first ever federal ban on corporate price gouging on groceries. We will fight to make sure hardworking Americans can actually afford a place to live. And if any of you out there are caring for an elderly parent, well, my plan will cover the cost of home care under Medicare so that seniors can get the help and care they need to stay in their own homes. It's about dignity. It's about dignity. And my plan will lower the cost of childcare, cut taxes for small businesses. Do we have any small business owners here? I love our small businesses. My plan will lower healthcare costs because, by the way, I believe access to healthcare should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. It's about values. It's about values. On the other hand, Donald Trump's answer to the financial pressures you face, well, it's the same as it was last time. Another $1 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires and big corporations. Right. And this time, he will pay for it with a 20% national sales tax on everything you buy that is imported. Clothes, food, toys, cell phones. A Trump sales tax would cost the average American family nearly $4,000 more a year. And on top of that, you would pay even more if Donald Trump finally gets his way and gets rid of the Affordable Care Act. Remember how many times he's tried to do that? And you're booing because if he were successful, it would throw millions of Americans off of their health insurance and take us back to when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like? Well, we are not going back. We're not going back. Just like Wisconsin's state motto tells us, we will move forward. Because ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom. Freedom. Like the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. And we all remember how we got here. When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. They did as he intended, and now in America, 1 in 3 women lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban. Many with no exceptions even for rape and incest, which is immoral. Immoral. And look, Donald Trump's not done. He would ban abortion nationwide. Yes, even here in Wisconsin. And he would restrict access to birth control, put IVF treatments at risk, and force states, listen to this, force states to monitor women's pregnancies. Just Google Project 2025. Read the plans yourself. And I know we all here know one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government shouldn't be telling her what to do with her body. Not the government. Not the government. Not the government. And when Congress, together with Tammy's help, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom nationwide, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. So, Wisconsin, I am asking for your vote. And here is my pledge to you. As president, I pledge to seek common ground and common sense solutions to the challenges you face. I am not looking to score political points. I am looking to make progress. And I pledge I know we can make progress. And I pledge then to listen to experts, to those who will be impacted by the decisions I make, and to people who disagree with me. Because look, unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy. He wants to put them in jail. I'll give them a seat at my table. I pledge to always put country above party and self, and to be a president for all Americans. So it all comes down to this. We are here together for many reasons, but one of the most important, we are here together because we love our country. We love our country. We love our country. And when you love something, you fight for it. And I do believe that one of the highest forms of patriotism, of our expression for the love of our country, is to fight for the ideals of our country and to fight to realize the promise of America. I have always believed in our nation's promise because I have lived it. I grew up as a child of the Civil Rights Movement. My parents would take me to the marches when I was in a stroller, where people from every walk of life came together to fight for freedom and for opportunity. Growing up, I saw how hard my mother worked to give her daughters the same chances our country gave her. And I was blessed to have family by blood and family by love who instilled in me the values of community and compassion and faith. I've spent my life fighting for people who have been hurt or who have been counted out, but who never stop believing that in our country, anything is possible. I have lived the promise of America. And today, I see the promise of America in all of you, in all of you, in everyone here. I see it in the women who refuse to accept a future without reproductive freedom. And the men who support them. I see it in the fathers and mothers who work hard every day for their children's future. I see it in Republicans who never voted for a Democrat before, but put the Constitution of the United States over party. And every day I see the promise of America in all the young leaders who are voting for the first time. And I love your generation. I just love you guys. Let me tell you why. One of the reasons is you all are rightly impatient for change. Rightly. You, who have only known the climate crisis, are leading the charge to protect our planet and our future. You, who grew up with active shooter drills, are fighting to keep our schools safe. You who now know fewer rights than your mothers and grandmothers are standing up for freedom. And what I know about you is these issues are not theoretical. This is not political for you. This is your lived experience. And I see you, and I see your power. I see your power, and I am so proud of you. Can we hear it for our first-time voters? So, Wisconsin, okay, we got 6 days to get this thing done. And no one can sit on the sidelines. So let's spend the next 6 days so that when we look backward after the 6th day, we will know we did everything we could, okay? So now is the time to knock on doors, to text, to call, to reach out to family and friends and classmates and coworkers and neighbors. And as we do, here's my request. As we do all of that, let's be intentional about building community. And let's be intentional about building coalitions. Let's remember that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And let's approach this. Let's approach this with that spirit. And with the spirit of in the face of a stranger seeing a neighbor. Let's do it that way, okay? Let's do it that way. And let us remember that your vote is your voice, and your voice is your power. So, Madison, today I ask you, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Vice President Kamala Harris live at the Dane County Coliseum in Madison, Wisconsin. What a speech it was. Fired up and ready to go, to quote Barack Obama. We are live here covering this in the post-game at the district in downtown Eau Claire, another critical area of Wisconsin in this great election. Joining me here at the table at the district, one of the co-founders of the Lincoln Project, president of the union. You can join the union at jointheunion.us, correct, Reed?
Right.
Very good. Reed Galen is here. Also, Trygve Olsen, like myself, a Wisconsinite, now a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. Reed, Trigby, you've done a lot of these. You've done advanced work for George W. Bush back when we were all Republicans. Reed, first blush, just what did you think of this event as people that have put these things on before?
No, she did a great job. The advanced team did a great job. The political folks, everybody there. It was exactly what you want less than a week out. Everybody fired up. I thought that she handled the one protester about Gaza brilliantly. She knew exactly what to do. She's probably had to do it before. Yeah. She didn't let it ruin her rhythm. She didn't let it distract her. She said, "I'm speaking," which of course we know is famous from 4 years ago. And that crowd was ready to go tonight.
Yeah, Catherine Lake, our Civic Media's Catherine Lake from Madison Station, like I said, been to a lot of these. And she has said that in our internal notes here that she never seen or heard an event thus far so loud. And boy, it sure came across that way today. Trigby, first thoughts of this event in Madison tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say how much energy it has without being in the room in comparison, but it reminds me a little bit, Reed, you remember that 2004 event at the Target Center in Minneapolis?
Sure.
That was the moment that I knew President Bush was going to beat John Kerry, because when you went in there, those people were ready.
Yeah.
And that place was just humming. This place appears to be humming. And I will tell you, if you compare it to the Trump rally up in Green Bay, the contrast could not be more significant. One was just a grievance-filled rant where, literally Donald Trump stumbled his way into a garbage truck.
Literally, right?
And then, literally stumbled into a garbage truck and then stood up on stage in a I don't know exactly what it was, a prison jumpsuit? No, it wasn't a prison jumpsuit.
Like
it was
a
like one of those
sanitation
orange
suit or something.
sanitation suit thing. And then it proceeded, I don't know if people have seen this, but it's making its way around. He's like, "I'm going to win in spite of the women."
Right. Yeah, and
that is not the case.
No, that is definitely not the case. Guys, again, we're all former Republicans. You both worked on presidential campaigns. Keep me honest. Listening to this speech tonight and listening to other speeches from both Harris and Walz, where they've come to Wisconsin during this campaign, talking about tax cuts, talking about affordable housing, talking about good health care. I mean, these are not things that would have been foreign to a George W. Bush or a John McCain. These are unifying principles.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think it's also, as you can tell, a very distinct and direct appeal to those middle-of-the-road and soft Republicans, Todd, that you're talking about. That she is not, look, the Trump campaign has been trying to paint her as a wild-eyed progressive, as a communist, a Marxist, all of the silliness that they've come up with. And I think she's very much trying to say, this is who I am. I'm for all people. I am not to be, I'm not going to be, what did she say? I'm going to be common sense. I'm not going to be crazy. Right. But I think also what's important here is that she is, again, we talk about the closing argument. She is making the argument for her presidency. She obviously sprinkled in plenty of stuff about Trump, but I thought it was important that she made the case for why she should be president and what she'll do as president.
She asked for the vote.
She asked for the vote. And I'll tell you this, too. Look, we've been on the road all week. I know we're tired, but when a candidate goes into a crowd like that, Todd, and gets that kind of energy, it recharges them.
Does it?
And
yeah.
you could see, I think, as the speech went on, you could see the vice president picking up that energy because she is thoughtful, right? she's got a lot of passion, but I think by the end of that speech, she was raring to go. And I think that's the one thing is a little bit intangible, is that she probably walked off that stage feeling like $1 million.
Yeah. Just passing on to Aaron Zommers back at home. We're going to go to 31 past the hour, Mr. Zommers, or 33, whichever you want. You can put that in the notes. We'll go to 31 or 33. You can tell me here as we wrap things up. We are at the District in downtown Eau Claire. Trigby, one of the things that the vice president did not mention tonight, that you guys keep me honest, I didn't hear anything about immigration tonight. Was that intentional because she was in Madison, or is that just an issue they don't want to touch the last 5 days?
Say that again.
Immigration. She didn't go there tonight.
Yeah, I don't understand. I thought the campaign, and I think I've said this before, was handling immigration really well when they were talking about the bipartisan compromise and she'd sign it on day one. I don't quite understand why they've gone away from that, because it is a great contrast. Although I will say, if you look at what Donald Trump is saying, and these things sort of have an ebb and flow to them, of what one side and the other is doing, he's talking less about immigration and more, quite honestly, there's a patriarchal sort of weird bro thing going on within both Trump's campaign, and he certainly amongst his sort of more fringy surrogates like Charlie Kirk, complaining that if men don't get out and vote, they're going to lose, which is true. If you look at the early vote, women are voting disproportionately more than they have in the past even.
As we've traveled around the state, we were in Osseo today. Tomorrow we're going to be at our great station, WFHR in Wisconsin Rapids, and doing an event tomorrow night at Goose, great bar in downtown Stevens Point. For those listening, come on down to Goose in Stevens Point between 6:30 and 7:30 tomorrow. But one of the things that the Vice President brought up tonight, and you guys have both talked about this over the course of this campaign, she said, I want to fight for women and not having her fight for women who are not going to have her government tell her what to do.
Right.
That is a message that most principled conservatives should go along with, Reed.
Yeah, and I mean, she put it in the context of freedom. You saw there was a big freedom banner. There was a USA chant. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we used to orchestrate, right? So, I mean, I think they definitely understand both the stagecraft and the messaging, that there's a lot of open territory, Todd, that Republicans have left. Because, frankly, the Trump message, the MAGA message, is fundamentally anti-freedom.
Right. Trigby, the other thing the Vice President talked about tonight was seeking common ground. And again, this is something you've been critical of other Democrats over the years, but here's a candidate now for President Kamala Harris saying, I want to seek common ground. She's trying to build a coalition. We've seen that with Liz Cheney. We saw it yesterday with Barbara Bush, daughter of W. Bush. We've seen it with Dale Schultz and Rob Coles, former Republican senators here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you're seeing in Wisconsin, and certainly as we've been out and about over this, literally over the last several months traveling the state, Todd, people are really tired of this back and forth bickering between the two parties. And what voters, if there are any undecided voters, are those who are hedging, particularly conservatives who are hedging, who are tired of that. What you have to ask yourself is, who is more likely to have Republicans as part of their campaign or work with them?
We will join you tomorrow from Wisconsin Rapids. Reed, Galen, Trigby, Olson, thanks for staying up late. Thanks for being on the road. Thanks for our bus driver, Patrick. Also, Mr. Chris Geesey for being our videographer. Aaron Zomers running the board back home. Corey Hartman, our chief engineer. We'll see you tomorrow on Civic Media. Stay tuned now for ongoing programming. This has been a Civic Media News Special Report.